And Jane joins us now. Jane, I'm just wondering, where is Phil Twyford and what have we heard from him in the wake of this reshuffle?
Well, the last thing we heard, Lisa, was him going into question time, where he did field some last questions, and a last question from Judith Collins, again around KiwiBuild and house sales. Haven't seen him since then, but he did issue a statement, and he echoes the Prime Minister's comments that efforts to tackle the national housing crisis are bigger than one person, and he looks forward to being part of a team. He also said he was as frustrated as anyone else that they hadn't been able to deliver as many KiwiBuild houses as they'd hoped, and he'd put his all into it. Now, what this change does is it shows the government's commitment to housing and the recognition that it is a big sprawling portfolio with many different elements, as you heard Ms Ardern reel off there in that package. But it also does allow Phil Twyford a dignified exit from the housing portfolio itself while still being part of that broader team. And of course, part of that is not having his name associated with KiwiBuild, which really just has so many problems and was acknowledged today as becoming a bit toxic really for the government in terms of the brand, and really looking to turn that around, and also in terms of the house. So because he's not the housing minister, he won't be coming up against Judith Collins, that has been a regular part of question time with her questioning him. That will now be Megan Woods, who the National Party may see as maybe a slightly harder target.
I know it's sort of been presented as kind of a soft exit, but how much of a come down is it for him? He keeps his ranking, but that's the flagship policy, isn't it? And he's still been stripped of it.
It is, and as I said, it could have been a lot worse for him. He could have been dumped from the team altogether. So I think Ms Ardern has recognised his expertise in this area, and as well as not wanting to lose this, I also think she doesn't want to humiliate one of her senior ministers and someone that she clearly has regard for. Putting a team around it certainly makes it easier for all of those individual ministers to focus on their particular areas. Chris Farfoy will look at state housing and homelessness. Now, urban development is still a very interesting portfolio that Mr Twyford will take specific responsibility for, because of course we hear from developers all the time about the problems with the Resource Management Act and how it really holds up house building. So ministers in the past have been unable to get the balance of environmental protections with, at the same time removing red tape. So Mr Twyford will really be focusing on that. Now, the other part of this, of course, is the KiwiBuild reset paper that we have been waiting on now for 6 months. It was announced at the start of the year that they would be looking at changing that program. Ms Ardern said that now the explanation for the delay is that while Mr Twyford had done a lot of work on it, she really wanted to give Megan Woods and Chris Farfoy the opportunity to contribute to that paper. So basically they're going to have at least the 3 weeks recess that we're coming into before an expectation that they would come back to Cabinet with the final KiwiBuild and actually broader housing program reset paper. And in fact, it could be longer than that. So it could end up being a much more long-term reset than we had initially expected.
Thanks, Jane. That's our political editor, Jane Patterson, joining us there from Parliament.